Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and with me, as always, is Danny Gillette, and it's another great Saturday morning. We're here to talk some Nebraska, whatever, transfer portal, basketball, wrestling with the polar bear, joining the wrestling squad, and really whatever you guys want to talk about. So if you're joining us from Facebook, YouTube, wherever, first off, go Big Red. It's a great Saturday morning, and Danny, how are you doing this morning, man?
Still trying to wake up a little bit. It's dark and rainy out here, and I could have used a couple more hours of sleep, but we have a busy day of Nebraska-related games and contests of sorts, so I'm ready to go. It's going to be a fun day today, I think.
Yeah, and as Vince came in the chat, said go Big Red before the chat started. He's got talking about a new commitment, and Nebraska did get one last night. Isaiah Neyor, the wide receiver from Texas, committed. Everything was looking very good for Nebraska, so we'll talk about that. Not a bunch, but 3 other visitors on campus this week. So 3 other guys that I think could be joining this roster. Dante Dowdell visiting this weekend. And then, of course, a really big matchup today for Nebraska basketball. 12-2, coming off the win over Indiana, taking on number 21 Wisconsin. And man, I don't like those Badgers. So it's anytime you can win in Wisconsin at Madison, it's a huge victory. And I think that would really booster the NCAA tournament resume for the Huskers. So we can definitely talk about that. But first, I guess Isaiah Neyor, the first topic of conversation. And what are your thoughts on that pickup for the Huskers, Danny?
It's a really good pickup for Nebraska. I mean, when you look at, the personnel for this offense, Nebraska was able to go out and get Dylan Raiola, a pass-first quarterback. They have the deep, explosive, play threats in Malachi Coleman and Jalen Lloyd, as well as several others, for example. And now they have a veteran in Isaiah Neyor who kind of fits that same mold. He can be a deep threat, but he also has a varied amount of tricks in his bag, so to speak. He can, do well on intermediate routes and make things happen after the catch. I think he is a guy that can not only fill that veteran role in the wide receiver room, but can make a pretty big impact. And he's somebody that, the quarterback room is going to like throwing to, because he makes your life really easy, especially on those deep throws. And, I think it's really, really interesting that Nebraska was able to land him, just because, there's a Texas connection, although, one has to wonder how much, of this current staff is connected to Neyor in the sense of that Texas connection. But, again, it's a commitment focused in the state of Texas. And, that's important. And on top of that, he's a big-time play threat. So I'm very excited by this commitment, and I fully believe that he'll be able to make an impact. And he's not just some veteran looking to kind of keep the room together, but somebody who can go out and make plays.
Yeah, I think, to me, it showed that how important he was. Dylan Raiola was there, for his visit, went to that basketball game against Indiana. So I think that shows what kind of a priority is. Like you mentioned, he's 6'3", 210. When he entered the transfer portal 2 years ago from Wyoming, he was fresh off a season in which he caught 12 touchdowns. He averaged 20 yards per reception, and I think he was like the number 5 wide receiver in the transfer portal. Like, it was a big get for Texas, and then he tore his ACL. Last year just wasn't really able to get on the field, with all the weapons that they have. He did have a 63-yard touchdown in the spring game for Texas, so there have been signs that he's, back healthy. And I like that Nebraska now is getting him. He's 2 years removed from that ACL injury. We've kind of talked about that, with some other guys, with Thomas Fedoni. We've talked about that a bunch. So I think this is going to be a really great addition for Nebraska. A guy that 20 yards per reception. He can add just some veteran experience to the room. And, I think that it's just going to be a solid addition all around. Now, are they going to add 2 wide receivers? It seems like that's possible with Jamal Banks. I don't think that this rules out that he's going to come here. And, if you're Dylan Raiola, this is just another weapon. And like you said, another deep threat. And you add now Neyor to Malachi Coleman, and that's 2 guys that are, 6'3", can run, can get down the field. So I really like how this receiving core is stacking up now with the addition of Neyor too.
I'd be very happy if we took Banks as well. I mean, he is also a big play threat, a tall guy as well, and Nebraska could have a very solid wide receiver room by the time all is said and done. And coming into this year, I already thought the room was pretty solid, but these two in Banks and Neyor would just add more weapons to that room. And quite honestly, I think you're already starting to see the impact of Raiola coming here.
So here's our first kind of question of the day. Thanks, Rick, for popping on YouTube here and sending us this question. Is Tua's brother thinking of coming to Lincoln? So I'm talking about Tua Tagovailoa. He has entered the transfer portal from Maryland. He had 1 year where he played 5 games. So he shouldn't have gotten a red shirt, but he applied for it. The NCAA gave it to him, so he's going to have 1 more year of eligibility. So, Danny, do you think there's any possibility of him coming to Lincoln?
No, I think honestly this program is very unattractive to quarterbacks right now, only because they don't want to sit, they want to start. And I think it's pretty set in stone by now that Raiola is going to be the starter. And then if that fails for whatever reason, Danny Kalen's going to come in and play. So, he's a good quarterback, Tagovailoa, but I don't see, any quarterback coming to Lincoln just because of the 2 quarterbacks in the room who are very capable. I'm not trying to diminish what they're doing or what they're going to do, but I just see the quarterback room being pretty much set in stone.
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't see any scenario where Nebraska shows any interest into it at all. Or excuse me, in Talia. Or I'm getting my guys mixed up. He is a good quarterback.
I'll take Tua too. If Tua wants to come, then maybe we can take him.
I'll take DR. I'll stick with DR. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe Tua is good though. But anyways, from Talia's perspective, he is also a very good quarterback. What I think is going to happen is it's going to be an SEC bidding war with maybe Miami getting involved because they missed on Cameron Ward. They haven't got any quarterbacks. Tua is there, and there was some talk. I don't remember who reported it, but of kind of like the idea of having Tua and Talia in the same market, for like marketing reasons. So it's possible. I'm sure Miami will throw out as much money as anybody. But yeah, if he doesn't go there, then I'm thinking somebody from the SEC is going to throw, $2 or $3 million at him because I mean, honestly, he's not like a first round. If he was good enough to be a first round pick or even like a day 2 or 3 pick, like he would go to the draft, but he's not. So this is probably a really smart move on his part to make more money during his career. And but yeah, I don't see him coming to Lincoln. I don't see any scholarship quarterbacks coming here. There may be a walk-on type. Like a guy that's like a journeyman college player that's just trying to finish out his career. You know what I mean? Like somebody like that. We've talked about that, but I don't think there's not going to be somebody here that's going to even compete for the starting job. That's not happening. This is Raiola, and either it's going to be Raiola or Daniel Kalen starting next year. So just deal with it.
I just love your honesty, but no, I think if anything, the positions that are going to see the most additions or, roster turnover would be, offensively speaking, wide receivers or running backs. And we've already, just added Neyor, and who knows, Dowdell might be next. And Dowdell actually posted a picture on his Instagram story showing the field. So he came into Lincoln on Friday, and I think there's a very solid chance we land him. So that's going to be something to watch for this weekend as well.
Yeah, and so to answer your question on that, Ricky, Dowdell hasn't committed yet. He is visiting right now. So he's visiting kind of throughout this weekend. It's a multi-day visit. The Syracuse linebacker is also Stephon Thompson, I believe is his name. He's also visiting right now. Jamal Banks has already completed his visit. Banks also visited Michigan. So I'm not really sure what his deal is, if he's he's waiting to see kind of what's happening with Harbaugh, if he's taking other visits. But I would have to think if he's deciding in the next, I don't think that Jim Harbaugh thing is going to be decided next week or the quarterback thing. So I guess with Banks, if the decision's coming within the next week or so, I would think Nebraska would be it. If he's going to decide later and take more visits, then, Michigan might be a real factor. But I do think Nebraska has if I had a crystal ball, I probably would put it in for Dowdell, but you just have to see how the visit goes, because this is really the first time they're kind of seeing him, and he's still a young player, and he's a top 10 recruit. I mean, he was a top 10 recruit at his position. So if it doesn't fit for Nebraska, like, he's going to have other opportunities. So I think I have a little more trepidation just because I do feel like he's going to have other opportunities, but at the same time, like, I think Nebraska can sell him on a big role in what could be a pretty good offense over the next couple of years. So I do think he's going to end up coming here.
And it's interesting about Isaiah Neyor's star ranking because I saw on On3, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to check this right now, that he was rated a 2-star. But that could be a ranking issue or whatever. But I thought he was at least a 3-star.
I'd have to, I'll look him up right now and see what they've got on 24/7. I know as a transfer, they don't have him listed as anything yet, which is strange. They do have
Sports has him as a 2-star, and so does Rivals. On3 and ESPN don't have him ranked, so I'm wondering. Okay, and then the On3 industry ranking has him as a 3-star with a 77.55 grade overall.
So I think it's important, at least with the 24/7, that's his high school recruiting ranking. So he was a 2-star coming out of high school from Texas, and that's, makes sense because he ended up at Wyoming, but he clearly, I think, outplayed that. So I don't see a ranking for him as a transfer, but I'm not really that much into I feel like it's, we're kind of subjective, 3-star, 4-star in the transfer rankings. Like, I'm not really too worried about that as far as compared to the recruiting rankings. That's just me.
His overall skill is extremely impressive and a perfect fit for this offense. So I think he'll be a good fit here no matter what. And I'm excited to see, how much of a deep threat he is, because, the other thing is, people were saying, oh, we didn't throw the ball down the field a ton last year. And, I saw that comment on Facebook. Well, you know what? We couldn't. So now that we, in theory, will be able to, I think we're going to see an elevated game from Neyor and Coleman and Lloyd and all those guys.
Well, it helps when you have a quarterback, for one thing. So, I mean, there weren't any quarterbacks that could throw the ball like Dylan Raiola last year on this team. I mean, and seriously, there hasn't been one. Like I've said, maybe ever. I don't think that there's been a quarterback as talented as Dylan Raiola, just in terms of arm talent, to ever walk on campus at Nebraska. Like, I don't think that that's a bold statement. Like, I mean, Nebraska has really only recruited passing quarterbacks for the last 20 years. So, I mean, we were recruiting option quarterbacks before then. So, I mean, in the last 20 years, like, yeah, Zach Taylor was pretty good. I mean, I'm not, he was Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, but he's no Dylan Raiola. He was an undrafted free agent there's a reason he's coaching right now instead of playing, because he didn't have a great arm. Like, and that's, Dylan Raiola, he is a generational talent. Like, people call him that for a reason, because he's got a special arm. Like, and he's, besides all the, the mental aspects of it, like this guy is, just an incredible thrower of the football. And that's going to open up things and plays in the offense in ways that just have never been opened up at Nebraska ever. So at any rate, so when we were talking about Jamal Banks, that's the guy from Wake Forest, Rick. So yeah, he's right now, it seems like it's a Michigan-Nebraska race. And so, yeah, there's a lot of unknowns with Michigan, obviously, with, who the head coach is going to be, who the quarterback's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be wrapped up anytime soon. Like, I feel like Jim Harbaugh is going to be at least listening to NFL teams. Black Monday obviously is Monday. So I'm just not sure if, like I said, if Banks decides in the next week, I feel good about Nebraska, but there's also, later windows where guys could take other visits. So if he's waiting to make a decision, then I think maybe Michigan or something, West Virginia's in the mix too. And NIL could be a factor, but Michigan does not really do NIL. So if NIL is the deciding factor, I wouldn't bet on Michigan. So that's just my 2 cents there.
Hopefully Bill Belichick's future is decided rather quickly, although it says that it may take weeks. But let's hope for my sake that it does not take weeks, because I cannot deal with another season of Bill Belichick. That just Jim Harbaugh just made me think of Bill Belichick and Black Monday. So that was just an internal thought that I had to voice.
What about Jim Harbaugh to the Patriots? What about that?
I mean,
Jim Harbaugh plus JJ declares for the draft, and then he takes JJ with the number one, with whatever their
We
pick
no
ends up being.
we needed like Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr. To be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of JJ, but I feel like I feel like he could be okay. I'd honestly rather have Michael Penix. It would probably for me go. Let's see, Drake May, Michael Penix, JJ. Those would be my top three.
Yeah, see, I honestly I would take I would take McCarthy over Drake May. I honestly would. I think JJ's gonna be like he's gonna be one of those guys that is way better in the NFL than he is in college, just because of the offense that they run. But man, like I've seen him make throws that I've never seen. Like literally, I'm a big Packers fan. Like there's been 3 or 4 throws this year that only Aaron Rodgers can make that I've seen him make. The touchdown pass to Ohio State. I haven't seen any other college quarterback make that throw, including Drake May. He can run. He runs a 4.5. Like he's got incredible accuracy. I just think that the sky is the limit for him. So like, I get. Yeah, Drake May would be tough to pass on, but if I was Jim Harbaugh, like I would take my guy. But
Definitely no Caleb Williams. I am out on the Caleb Williams train. USC quarterbacks just don't translate well. But you said you seen him make throws that only he can make. The one that sticks out to me was the drop in the bucket over, I believe it was Isaac Gifford in the end zone during the game at the end of September. That was an incredible throw. So I don't
yeah,
know.
and
We'll
that
see.
wasn't even. That's not even like that was a good one, but that's not even like on the top 5 of throws he's made this year. He's made some like NFL, like you got to throw people open. So I don't. That's just my opinion. But if I was like honestly, if I had a draft pick, I'd take him number 1. That's just me.
For
I
the
just think
casuals that don't watch college football, Monday may be a little bit rough, but I personally am excited for Monday. I think it's going to be some great quarterback play, and I don't think it's going to be a blowout like last year either, because that was an absolute joke.
No, I think Penix is too good. I think Penix is going to be like Drew Brees in the NFL. Like he's not huge, and he doesn't have the Patrick Mahomes arm, but he's accurate as all hell, and he computes things so quickly. There's a reason. Like the reason he only got sacked 11 times this year, yeah, their offensive line's good, but it's because he's just so amazing at getting rid of the football and putting it exactly like if like on that last throw, like Quinn Ewers, man, that last drive, like he blew that game. Like my God, the guy was so wide open on if he just throws a back shoulder fade, that's a touchdown. Like JJ McCarthy, I mean, you took it like a lot of college quarterbacks would have made that throw, and for some reason he tried to throw a fade out of that barely was in play. But if that was Michael Penix, man, on that last play, it's a touchdown 9 times out of 10 because he just knows where to put the football. He doesn't, he's tough to rattle. And yeah, I think it's just going to be what I think that game's going to come down to is the red zone. And who if Michigan can force Washington into a couple of kicks, because what I think is going to happen, what they're going to try to do, I think they're going to try to give Blake Corum the ball about 30 times. I think they're going to try to milk the clock and try to really make it like the Ohio State game this year and in 2021, where in the Ohio State game this year, I think each team got like 3 or 4 possessions in the first half. And the thing is if you give a team 6 or 8 possessions, you stop them once, you hold them to a couple of field goals, you've held them under 30 points right there because they were only getting 4 or 5 possessions to score. And that's what I think is going to be Michigan's formula. So I think really the biggest concern I would have for Washington is their run defense and the fact that if you look at their S&P defense ranks outside the top 50, or I think outside the top 40, and no team has won the national championship with a defense that poor since 1950 and Oklahoma. So I just don't know if their defense is going to be strong enough to hold up, but I do think that Michael Penix is going to make it. He's going to be good enough that it's going to be a 4-quarter game. It's not going to be, like you said, 65-7.
No. And on top of all of the national championship festivities, there's going to be some important news on Monday as we're going to get some more information on NCAA football 24. So I've been waiting 10 years for this game to come out, and yeah. I am finally excited that there's going to be some news. I can't wait to just hide in my room all summer and make Nebraska the ultimate dynasty and then get a job at, I don't know, Oregon after cementing my legacy at Nebraska and win 5 more championships. So let's get it going. I can't wait. I loved the recruiting interface in the old one, and I'm hoping they stay true to, what made it really good. So sorry for our little non-Nebraska tangent there, people, but we'll get to some of your questions here. We love talking no matter what it is. What is your pick for the game Monday? I don't know score, but I think I'm gonna go Michigan.
I'm gonna say Michigan, but it's gonna be close. And just for Mitch, like why I think Harbaugh would go to the NFL. I just think that if he wins this game, like he just really wants to win a Super Bowl. That his brother has one, and he was one play away from winning it. He's 60 years old, so I think if he gets the chance, I just think he's competitive. That he wants the Super Bowl. So that's my thought. But I understand what you're coming from, and I think there's a very real chance he does stay at Michigan, which would be a bad sign for the rest of college football, honestly.
I didn't realize he was 60 years old. He doesn't look like he's 60 years old. He has a ton of energy. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, I don't know. Marv Levy coached till he was like almost 80, so I mean, he's probably fine. But like, yeah, I just think if he gets a chance, especially if they win it, like he'll achieve everything he could achieve at Michigan.
Yep, I agree. I think he's gonna hopefully maybe by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, I would hope so. With in terms of the Oregon, the Oregon running back from Mississippi, Dante Dowdell. I just feel like, man, we've talked about it before, but I just feel like he would really upgrade this room. And in terms of like all the additions Nebraska could make, I just feel like he's one that could really impact things. And not to disrespect any of the guys in the room. I like the guys in the room. It's so hard now to get through a season with one or two guys. Like you need 3 or 4 backs that you can really rely on, especially in the Big Ten, man. It is such a brutal conference. Like, I just don't think people sometimes realize, like, yeah, the Big Ten is like, there's this, I guess notion that it's this big, slow conference, but man, like guys get beat up in that league, and especially from the running back position. So we definitely need another bell cow type. And I think he's definitely that type of runner, in my opinion.
Irvin and Johnson have had trouble staying healthy this year too, and that's not this year, but throughout their careers at Nebraska, and that's not a knock on them. But you just remember after about the third week of the season last year, how we were kind of thin on running back depth. So adding Dowdell would certainly take the load off of the other guys. And quite honestly, I think this style of offense that we're going to run this year is also going to help prevent injuries at the running back position as well. Because let's be honest, it was a ground and pound type of offense last year and not a whole lot of anything else. So that should help keep the players fresher and healthy this year at the position too.
This has nothing to do with Nebraska, but Mitch opines that Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll use the same skin cream. So
potentially, yeah, because Carroll doesn't look old either.
That's the only thing they hate each other besides that, but they're like, hey, this is good skin cream. Because I don't know if you remember, but Jim Harbaugh went for 2 on Pete Carroll and they were up like 24 points, which I love that, I kind of like it. Anyway, yeah, I really hope they get Dowdell. I do think it would be a great fit for him as a running back too. I think his style of, he's kind of that one cut type runner, and I think it would be a nice fit. And I was just thinking about the offensive line. And speaking of the offensive line, some Nebraska guys have been doing some work at, the All-American Bowl this week. Gibson Pyle, it's kind of our boy. We did an interview with him.
We're gonna have to get him back on. That's over the next couple of weeks. Ask him about his experiences. I'm sure he would love to do it.
Yeah, he's awesome to talk to. We've been touting him basically all off season, throughout this entire cycle as a guy that's going to outplay his ranking. And, he's listed as a tackle, but you put that guy at guard, and I think he had like 90 pancake blocks or something. They said
he might honestly be one of the best commitments in this class.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I absolutely agree, because he's still ranked fairly. I want to say he's in the top 6 or 500, and he just got lost in the shuffle in Texas, and he's going to start probably. I wouldn't be surprised, not this year as a freshman, but would not surprise me at all if him and Grant Brix were Nebraska's starting guards going into the 2025
which I would be like totally okay with. I mean, so some lineups this year, and quite honestly, ever since I've covered the team, it's kind of like, we sure about this? But I would be perfectly happy with those two.
And I'm not sure if Brix is going to play guard or tackle. I think he can play tackle. I just think, like I said, I think he could be a really, really great guard. So we'll see.
So I have a question for you. I saw a video of Connor Booth circulating around the internet earlier this week. It looked like he was at some sort of camp or something.
Hmm.
Do you know where he could have been? Because it wasn't at the All American Bowl.
I'm not sure because he's an underclassman.
Do you know what video I'm
So
talking about?
I don't. But there's so many
I'm
things
gonna send you
anymore.
that actually right now in the private
Yeah,
chat.
I do like Connor Booth though. He's talk about someone that'll run through a face mask.
Because his legs are bigger than both my arms like put together, and I'm like, holy crap, we have a potential running back specimen on our hands. And I think honestly, you look at the 2025 class, he's definitely our running back. He is definitely our running back, and he has a chance to be really special. Oh, I just found it. It was a video posted by Rivals, and I'll send it to you right now. I don't know where he is, but I mean, that's that's the other thing about this like group of kids is like Isaac Dickey, like he is well built. Connor Booth, he is an absolute monster. Gibson
Yeah.
Pyle, he's just absolutely physical. Bricks, Tamua, like there's an identity forming here, and of how Nebraska wants their players to kind of, I don't know, play, and it's all
Mhm.
just like really physical, and hopefully these guys are up for the challenge, and I think it's just great to see, honestly.
I'm glad you brought up Isaac Dickey because he's going to be a good fullback. Like that. That kid, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up getting a scholarship down the road because he's tough. He's tough, and he's going to be a good player. I think
He's a
at
good
that
kid too.
position.
We should have him on again.
Yeah, and on special teams and stuff, like he's the kind of kid that's like literally would run through a wall for this program, and that's what you want. Like you get kids that in terms of the walk-on program that are talented enough to play FCS or FBS football, but want to come to Nebraska just because they freaking love this program so damn much. And that is what Matt Rule is building here. And like we talk about Michigan and what they've done, they've built an amazing culture there more than anything. Like they didn't lose a single starter in the transfer portal the last 2 years. And I think Matt Rule is building that kind of culture here, not just like you said, the toughness aspect of it, but just the fact that like these guys want to play for each other. They want to run through a wall for each other, and they want to run through a wall for Matt Rule. And how many guys in Nebraska lose in the transfer portal? Like not a single one of significance. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, by saying that, but they didn't lose any starters. They had guys that could have chose to go to the NFL and wanted to come back. And I think that's because they believe in what Matt Rule is doing. And so not only is he building that team culture, but he is selling that vision of the brand of football that they're going to be. They're going to be a tough team. They're going to run the football. And I'm really excited about what he's building.
And quite honestly, all of the kids that we've interviewed, and even just looking at the way they conduct themselves, they're all extremely high quality, high character guys. And I think that says a lot too. Because I've talked with Gibson, and he's an absolute pleasure to talk to. Isaac's awesome. You can see how their faces light up when you mention anything Nebraska football, and it's really cool to see just people who love to play football and who are not taking it for granted and just want to beat people up and build that bond, because that's not something we've always had either.
I did want to get to, so we had some questions here. So, Steve, do you think the Huskers will try to get another QB for depth? I do. I mean, yeah, I do think that I think the answer to that question is yes. I think that the problem is that identifying who that person would be, who would want to take, an NIL package or a walk-on package to be, the clip holder essentially, and kind of a, veteran scout or I mean, just kind of a veteran presence. Because like I said, like to me, the important thing, like if you're talking about practice reps, like let's say, for every 10 reps in practice, right? Like Dylan Raiola needs about 6 or 7. Kalen should get about 3, and the third quarterback should get 1. So I mean, that's what I want to have happen in the
It's a
practice
hard
reps.
sell for a third quarterback, but
Yeah, and that third quarterback right now is Heinrich. So this guy could come in and get 0 reps, but you have to just be okay with that. That's the kind of person. So you're gonna have to find a really a special kind of person that's unselfish, that probably wants to get into coaching. So I really don't think that that's probably going to happen. But if the right situation, if the right person comes available, yeah, I think Nebraska would jump on it. But I really don't see it happening.
and it's also really interesting, kind of to just extend on the previous point of recruiting certain types of kids. I mean, Nebraska extended 3 in-state 2025 scholarships this week. Pierce Newberry, Jackson Carpenter, and Ryman Ziebert. So they're already looking at a bunch of 2025 in-state kids, and I believe it was Newberry, if I'm not mistaken, who's teammates with Caden Vermas. So, I mean,
Mooberry's got a crystal ball to Nebraska as well already. So
I mean, there could be another one on the way there, and I absolutely love it. I mean, because you already have Tyson Terry, Caden Vermas, Connor Booth. So there's definitely a plan here, and I always said, I remember saying this to you last year, that these next couple classes were going to be full of talented kids from Nebraska, like as recruiting classes are concerned. Like, these recruits from Nebraska are going to be talented, and now Nebraska, the program, is making their moves to try to get as many to commit as possible.
I don't believe, and so that's why you have to, in terms of the quarterback. Yeah, you're not getting a guy that's leaving to be a starter. What you need is like a career backup, like Jack Tuttle, who's on the bench at Michigan this year. They got him from Indiana last year, and he walked on at Michigan this year, and that's what you need, is somebody like that maybe was like a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, but has not played, has not started, has sat on the bench somewhere, and then bring him here to be a backup and give him some NIL money. I mean, it's not like, I get some people want to play, but if you're trying to finish a degree, or just maybe you just want to be, or maybe you just want to get the NIL money and get paid to be a backup for a year. I don't think it's impossible, but yeah, it's not going to be somebody that's been a regular starter anywhere. It's going to have to be somebody that was like a career backup, but that maybe, has something as a recruit. I don't know. And so to me, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm fine with the quarterback room the way it is, but.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to add a third quarterback either. Time to let the young pups develop. They are the future.
Hausman is still at Michigan. Yeah, he made some key plays in the Rose Bowl on Monday. So yeah, he'll start next year. He's played on the rotation basis this year because the two guys in front of him are both going to be NFL draft picks. But yeah, he'll be starting, and he'll be probably an all Big Ten linebacker next year.
I wish we could have kept him. I really wish we could have kept him.
That's the only one that's really out of the last 2 years. Well, AJ Allen and him are the two that I wish we could have.
AJ would have had a big role this year, honestly. But
yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, Hausman, could you imagine this defense with him in the middle? Oh my gosh. Because he's a freak, man. He's not quite Levante David good, but he's like the closest thing I've seen since Levante David at Nebraska.
That's high praise. That's high praise. So yeah. But
he's fast, man. Good. And yeah, he just gets people, and he doesn't miss many tackles. So we haven't seen him play, so we'll have to see. But Mitch, I think Haarberg is a much more capable QB this year. He will at least be a serviceable backup, keep his body warm for special packages. Yeah, I agree. I think Haarberg's the perfect third quarterback. He's already won 5 games as a starter. Obviously, if there was an injury and you had to roll with him, you'd have to completely change your offense because he can't throw the ball very well. But I mean, that's just the truth.
You're right. But you're right. I just love it. I love it.
I've said it though a bunch. I want him to be used as I even give him a Taysom Hill role. Just let him go out there in the first quarter and just run through people's face masks, set the tone. I think in short yardage. I mean, if we need to do a tush push, man, take Raiola out, put this dude in. You know what I'm saying? He'll drive forward for the yards. And so, that's my kind of thing. I think he would be good in a few situations. Try to teach him how to catch a pass as a tight end or two. He caught one last year. So, and I just think he loves Nebraska. Yeah. And I just think that he's unselfish, and, I think he would do whatever. I think this guy would be a freaking gunner on special teams. I think he would do whatever it took to get on the field to try to help Nebraska win. And that's the kind of guy that you want for that third QB role.
I always go back to the run against, let's see, was it Louisiana Tech, where he absolutely turned on the Jets for 90-plus yards? That was an incredible play. I believe you were on a plane to Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken, and you tried to follow the game on your phone, and I had to tell you about it, and I was so excited, and I can't believe
never trust the airline internet, man. It's the biggest scam of all time.
Do you pay for did you pay for in-flight Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I did. I got ripped off.
I haven't been on a plane in so long. I'm totally unfamiliar with. Do they still serve meals on?
Some of them, I don't. All the ones I do, they're just snacks. I never am on a long enough one for meals, so
That's
I
true.
don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about flying somewhere, and it's a totally different ballgame because last time I flew was 2000, and yeah, it's been a little bit since then. So
Yeah, Harburg, he is a heck of an athlete, man. You know, he's not a 10-yard dash guy like Crouch. That's what Mitch says. He's got those ostrich legs pumping,
yeah,
covers those yards. Yeah,
yeah.
he does, and I would like to utilize that. You know, because it when you run the quarterback, it gives you an extra blocker. So you know, I still think that there is something to that, and it's and like I said, man, like I know teams are going to start packing the box. Like I wouldn't mind Haarberg in there and then have him run that belly option. He threw 2 touchdowns on it this year. Keep people honest. Like I have no
Those are good
problem.
throws too.
Yeah, and that's the kind of throw he can make. You know, he's not the kind of guy that is going to take a 3-step drop and rifle a ball 15 yards across the middle of the field into traffic. That's just not who he is. That's Dylan Raiola, but that's not Heinrich. But he can do the play action and throw it down the field. So, but yeah, I love him as the third quarterback. I think he'll do great things, and I think he'll do a great job because he's going to check his ego at the door, and he's going to do his best to help these 2 kids get ready. And that's what I expect. But just from what I know of him as a person and a player, I think that's what we're going to get.
And you see him in or hear him in all these interviews, and he sounds very much like a team player. And I think he just loves Nebraska football. I mean, as a Nebraska resident himself, I think he just loves to be a part of the program, and he'll do whatever it takes to win. Like Isaac Dickey, like Gibson Pyle. These guys are important for your program, and Haarberg has certainly handled this with tremendous grace, and it's been really awesome to see that. There's no egos in the quarterback room.
Yeah, you gotta love it. Even though he's from Kearney, I'm not a big Kearney fan. Since I lived in Hastings, Nebraska, they were our rivals. But no, just you gotta love the Kearney kid, man. Making plays, and it was fun watching him, get a chance to play last year. So
It
I'm glad that
was.
he stuck around. I'm sure I'm not to get into the world of the Taylor Swift and whatever, but it may have had something to do with the fact that I'm pretty sure he's still dating Harper Murray. So I don't know.
I would say, the girlfriend's a powerful draw, man. I mean, a lot of my friends went to St. Cloud as their girlfriends. Some regretted it, some didn't, but the girlfriend is a powerful draw. I mean, it is what it is.
It's always funny that it's the NIL. There's the NIL thing, and then there's the girlfriend. Those are the two secret factors that can always play into recruitments that you just can't really control.
Oh yeah, and sometimes the girlfriend factor is more powerful than the NIL. That's for sure.
That yep. How many days after the last recruit is signed do you think we hear about staff changes, additions, subtractions? I do think I don't think there's going to be a ton of changes, but I think they are going to bring in a quarterbacks coach. I just think that they need to.
Yeah.
Satterfield doesn't really have that background, and like you've got to develop Dylan Raiola. Like Dominic Raiola is trusting you to develop this kid, and in that camp, they're not just going to sit. Like if they think that he's going the wrong way, like they'll yank him out of here. I have no doubt about that. Like their concern is his development first and Nebraska football second, which it should be. That's their kid. So I mean, I'm not saying that they're gonna obviously like, oh, we're gonna leave if you don't hire a quarterbacks coach. I just think like if they don't hire a quarterbacks coach and things don't get better, like they're not gonna be all that happy about that.
And nor should they be. Nor should they
Yeah.
be.
And yeah, I just think, Josh Martin, I don't think was ever meant to be on a full-time person on the staff. I think he stepped in and did a good job. I see no reason why he can't go back to being an analyst, which is what he was hired to do last year, and open up a spot for a quarterbacks coach. Satterfield can run the offense and coach tight ends. The quarterbacks coach can, I mean, you could say even a passing game, quarterbacks coach, passing game coordinator, or whatever you need to call him, whatever title you need to give him. Just get somebody that can work specifically with those quarterbacks and develop them and go from there.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely need a quarterbacks coach, especially with a room of relative inexperience, especially when you're talking about your two main quarterbacks. And I would probably expect maybe some sort of announcement in the middle of the month if there is going to be one. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I definitely think a quarterback's coach is needed.
And it's a good time for it. I mean, lots of NFL guys are going to be looking for jobs, and so we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. But I'd be surprised if the coaching staff was the same next season. I think most of it's going to be the same. I'm hoping that like Terrence Knighton doesn't get like swooped and stolen by an NFL team. Like, I'll admit he's probably the one I'm worried about the most, just because the defensive line coaches are so valuable at every level. But I haven't heard anything to justify that. That's just like my, paranoid thought myself. But at any rate, I think that we'll know by, I mean, spring practice starts. We got the dates? I'm not sure. I know that workouts start like January 22nd, and spring ball has to start.
I don't think we've got this. I honestly don't think we'll get the spring ball dates till maybe either the end of the month, early February, maybe.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, but that's still only like 6 weeks away from whenever spring ball's probably starting, maybe a couple months, but you don't have a ton of time. So, and then the other thing too is you've got to get this in recruiting, because then you're recruiting, especially if you're adding a quarterback's coach, that totally changes things in terms of a recruiting perspective. So you want to get that hire done as soon as possible.
I wish I was going to the spring game this year. I wish I had the money to fly out and go to the spring game, because that's going to be a hot ticket.
That is going to be a fun one to go to. Yeah. Get on the bus, man.
When we get our big offices, we'll go to spring game, and we'll report live from the spring game. I always wanted to do bussing with the boys on Barstool Sports. I've always wanted to be on it. That'd be fun. Me and you on bussing with the boys.
We'll just get our own bus.
That'd be cool.
Roll
That
from
would
there.
be really cool.
Get one of those Mercedes one of those Mercedes buses, and just
right now
roll
I'm
from
just
there.
worried
Have it
about.
with the TVs and stuff.
In the meantime, I'll think about these dreams while I'm munching on my $2 pizza and watching my cable television. So we can dream big, though. We can dream big, and
We can dream big. Someday, man, we're gonna have it. It's gonna be fit with TVs. Mitch will be hanging out with us. We'll let Mitch will be chilling. We'll have like a, like the fridge will have beers everywhere, but it'll be like see-through, so you can see how many beers that we have, because there'll be just like hundreds of them. It'll look cool.
Maybe not see through, because then people will start wondering why all the beers are gone by 9 a.m. and I'll have to.
But it'll just be every beer that takes out, just another one will refill it. So it'll just be constantly.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, if we're gonna go big, we're gonna go real big.
All right. I like it. But
yeah,
maybe by the end of this year.
Let's see here. Let's see where we at now. We're off on a tangent now, but yeah, I do think this.
we have 17 comments and we've answered 0. So I don't think
we're not doing great. I'm by Beaver Dam. How far from me? Oh, that's funny, Mitch. My family used to live in. My uncle used to live in Beaver Dam. He just moved. He's a Packers fan. He did move to Minnesota because his daughter lives there. So now he's in hell on earth. But at any rate, he did used to live in Beaver Dam. Mike Peterson, Laura Peterson, if you know any of those guys. I don't know if you do, but at any rate, let's see. We could all. So if you're Beaver, we just got to fly to Wisconsin, and then roll from there. We'll buy the Mercedes from there, and then we'll just roll from Wisconsin down to Nebraska. It's not that far.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be far at all. But that's a goal for the future.
So yeah, you definitely got to get to. I haven't been to a Nebraska game in a long time, since like literally the days of Tommy Frazier, when I used to live there. So it would be fun to go back. It truly is an incredible place. You definitely got to go there.
Yeah, no, and I'm definitely due for some traveling, so I definitely want to go there.
So yeah, the spring game though I think will be fun, and what I'm hoping is I'm hoping that we'll get to see like DR and Daniel Kalen on the two running the opposite teams, and I'm really excited to see these two guys compete and bring the best out of each other. Like that's something that I'm just really excited about. Oh, that's a great game to be at. I remember that one. So the last game that Mitch saw was the Thanksgiving game where Suh returned a fumble. That was the Alex Henry game too, where he made the 58-yard field goal. And I can remember too, it was it was Black Friday, but all my family was over, and I was watching the games, freaking out, yelling, and I'm like, oh man, I can remember being like, oh man, they're gonna try a 58-yard field goal. There's no way they're gonna make this. And my cousin was like, they're gonna make it, and they did. And then Suh, they picked it, fumble. I can't remember if it was a fumble or interception at this point, but I just remember him giving, I think it was Craig Oaks. He gave Craig Oaks just the massive stiff arm and walked into the end zone. That was awesome.
That seems so long ago, doesn't it?
That was like 15 years ago. That's crazy.
Yikes. That makes me feel, let's see, 15 years ago, I was, hold on, I hate doing math, 14. So, yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, hopefully I do. I'd like getting Suh in the NIL part of it. That would be kind of cool.
Well, he said he wanted to be a part of it. So, I mean, Ndamukong Suh is a good face for NIL. So,
yeah, and he's a great face for Nebraska, man. Should have won the Heisman. It was so funny when Texas got the 1 second, and Nebraska social media was blowing up after that.
Yep, I saw that. Yeah, that was hilarious. Nebraska social media is never a dull time.
Just Texas, man. I freaking hate those guys. Like we were talking about this the other day, but 96 Big 12 championship, they cost us the national title. 99, they cost us the national title. 2008, they screwed us in the Big 12 championship. This year, they cost us the national title in volleyball. I just hate them.
I hate them too, but it's always good for college football when certain programs are back. Us, Miami, Texas, Penn State. So in that respect, I have to give, props to Texas. But other than that, I agree.
How are they going to do in the SEC though?
They're gonna have a hard wake-up call in the SEC. I think Nick Saban's gonna eat their breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, I think so, but I do like Sark. I think he's got a good idea, and I'm just not.
That's assuming that Alabama even plays them. They'll probably play like, I don't know, Prairie View University and like a D3 school before they ever play Texas. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, this is Mitch is talking about. Was leaving the stadium, saw a Range Rover pull up, and I told my daughter, wait right here. Suh came up and talked to my daughter about working hard and being serious in school. He had 2 big bags of hot food that were getting cold, but he stood there and talked to my daughter like she was his little sister. That man's all class, and what I will never forget about that game. That's pretty awesome. Cool. It is awesome when guys take the time out to do that, and and Ndamukong Suh is an all-time great Husker, man. I've and his pro career was spectacular. I know he, there was those few incidences or whatever when people called him a dirty player. What I don't care. I think he's awesome, and it's just like some of that stuff is, like 20 years ago it would have been more celebrated, and now it's like, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, stuff happens in the heat of the moment. And how many did he win? 1 Super Bowl? I can't remember, but he was. Was it more than one? I think
he might have won one with the Rams, if I'm not mistaken.
And I want to say he won one with the Bucks. I'm pretty sure he was on that Bucks.
Yeah, team. Actually, you're right. Hold on, he
might have won more, but he kind of had an underrated NFL career. Like when I just like he wasn't underrated, but I don't feel like people talk about his NFL career as much as they should.
Well, I feel that way about Levante David.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. What is he like? Over 100 tackles now again for like the 8th, 10th year in a row or something insane.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl. Suh did with the Bucks. That was his only Super Bowl. I thought he did with the Rams.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I think he got there with the Rams and they lost
to the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
But man, 71 and a half career sacks, 130 tackles for loss, 214 QB hits. 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro seasons. Still should have won the Heisman, though.
I agree.
But that's like, how did Michael Penix not win the Heisman? It's so weird. How did Tommy Frazier not win the Heisman?
That's the one. Should be reserved for after the season.
Yeah, I agree. So should the NFL MVP. Like, I'm so sick of I hate the NFL MVP, and it's probably because I'm a Packers fan and I saw Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre win it like 7-8 times and win 2 Super Bowls. Like, it's just a garbage award. It doesn't matter. Like, That's in my opinion. I mean, give it out after the Super Bowl, and then you can say like this was the most valuable player, but that's not how sports work, I guess. So
No, it's stupid. It's the same thing with the NBA too. I believe they do it before playoffs
yeah.
begin.
So whatever. But the Heisman's definitely broken though. It's not, it's just a quarterback award. And I mean, it kind of always has been like that, but it's even worse now. I mean, I'm glad Marvin Harrison actually got to the finals this year, but it's like it's just hard to see somebody winning it that's not a quarterback. Even running backs. I mean, running backs used to dominate this award, and who was the last running back that even won it? I think it was Derrick Henry. I mean, it's been a long.
Yeah, I think
There's
so.
there's probably not going to be one for a long time. So it's gonna. Blake Corum would have had a good shot last year, I think, had he not gotten hurt. But yeah, Reggie Bush really did get screwed. Reggie Bush is suing to get his Heisman back. I mean, it's like Caleb Williams is chilling in the penthouse, and what did
Yep.
Reggie Bush even do? It's like
Thunder and Lightning, Reggie Bush and Lendale White. That was the first, team I remember watching, and just like how explosive Reggie Bush was, and how thunderous Lendale White was. And then you had Matt Leinart, who had great receivers, and was a really good quarterback for USC. So that was quite the dynasty.
it'd be fun, like if you could have all the dynasty, like if you could have like 95 Nebraska and like 2001 Miami and like 2004 USC, like all those different teams, like if we could actually play them against each other, because there's some, I mean, for like a 10 or 20 year stretch, there was some really big time dynasties, and I guess there still have been in college football. Alabama, Georgia, it's a dynasty sport, really.
You can do that in the old. You could do that in the old NCAA video games. You could play as 95 Nebraska and 04 USC and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty. I am stoked for that on Monday night. Do you think we're going to get a release date?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. It would make sense because this is like when most people are going to be watching. So I would think so, yeah. I mean, I think we're going to probably get an official trailer because there hasn't been an official trailer yet. It's all just been leaks on Twitter and things like that.
Yeah, I would think there would be some gameplay and some type of trailer, and hopefully a release date. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'm hoping
Not to
that
get off
they.
on a tangent, but last time NCAA came out, like I remember being all excited, waiting at the video game store at like midnight, like ready, waiting for it to come out. Kids today will never experience the excitement of a video game release day in person. Now you can just download it on your system and that's it. But those video game release days are so much fun.
It
Everybody
does
would
take. Yeah, it
standing
does
there.
take a long time to download them on your system, though. But
It does. But
I like the disc for certain games. So
I just scratch on my disc, so I just like the digital copies.
I hope they release it for PS4. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to buy a PS5.
I have a PS5, honestly, solely for this reason. I don't even game that much anymore, but I'm ready for this to come out.
Yeah, I told my wife because I got a PS4 not that long ago because I wanted to get Madden and then NCAA football. But so I was like, if they don't release it for PS4, I was like, I will be buying a PS5, just so you know.
Hopefully, she was supportive of that.
Yeah, she is.
That's good.
I'll have to buy her something, but it'll be worth it. I won't care.
There we go. That's the right thing to say right there. We have you on record now.
It's the quid pro quo.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you play like a 95 Nebraska as versus 01 Miami? Yeah, you can. You were able to do it in the last game, and I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to do it in this one.
It's gonna be so. I hope that they bring back like March NCAA basketball too. Like those were cool games. Even the NCAA baseball. Like
those were, and like the different broadcast teams you had. And the last one I
yeah.
played, which was 08, you had like the CBS broadcast team, and then the what was the other one? CBS, and then like ABC or something. There,
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it was so much fun. And your camera would shake depending on which venue you were in, and the crowd would get louder. And
Yeah.
I miss those days.
It was cool. Well, it's going to be sweet with the 12-team playoff, and yeah, it'll be cool. I guess we should probably talk some Nebraska here for
Basketball.
Yeah, let's talk some basketball. Sorry, you guys, to give off on a tangent, but everybody loves NCAA football. So, but yeah, in terms of basketball, this is a big matchup for the Huskers. Wisconsin's ranked number 21. I'm trying to think, is this on BTN today?
It is.
Okay, good. I like BTN for one thing. The games are always like 10 minutes shorter because the commercial breaks aren't as long.
Secondly, I can actually see it without having to pay anything extra.
Yeah, right. But yeah, this Wisconsin, I mean, it's a typical Wisconsin team. I mean, they play pretty good defense. They have a slow tempo. They shoot the ball pretty well. Nebraska's a 6.5 point underdog, which seems a little steep to me, but
A bunch of like white absolute snipers, and that's not being racist. They just always have really, really good white shooters all the time. Like
they
it's
do.
crazy.
Yeah, they do. It's always the same. Yeah, they have the same type of team, and yeah,
It
it's
works.
pretty similar. I know they got obviously, Chucky Hepburn, who's a
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska guy, but AJ Stores really, as a sophomore, has been balling out for them, averaging 15. Stephen Kroll, you'll probably remember him,
Mm-hmm.
and then Tyler Wall. Those guys are 6'9", 7 foot, and they can shoot threes, and they always seem to get a bunch of offensive rebounds. So we'll see. They've played some really good. Their only losses are basically to ranked teams. And they've beaten 2 ranked teams so far this year. So big test, I think, today for the Huskers.
Absolutely, and I think it's one they can handle. I mean, I would you consider Indiana a quad one win? Because I would.
I think it's going to be a quad 2 win just because it's at home. So I'd have to look, but I think teams have to be like in the top ranked in the top 30. I think almost at home. So like Michigan State probably will be, Indiana probably won't be, but it'll be a quad 2, and it's still you still want to have a good amount of quad 2 victories. So, but in terms of, I mean, Indiana's a team loaded with talent, so I think that was an impressive win either way.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just shows that this team is coming together, and they are starting to they have found their identity, and it's working. It's taken a little bit in the Fred Hoiberg era, but it's working.
Yeah, he's figured out how to play defense. And yeah, I mean, you match up the defense with the 3-point shooting, and it's a pretty impressive team. So I mean, you look at the NET rankings right now. So this is what determines like what's a quad 1 victory or whatever. So Wisconsin's ranked 14th. So that would be Michigan's best win, or excuse me, Nebraska's best win. Michigan State right now is number 24. So that is a quad 1 win, and that win is only going to get better, in my opinion. Let's see here. Who else we got? So you go down a little bit, and yeah, I was trying to see. So Nebraska is number 58 right now. So in terms of, let's see, quad 1 record. So yeah, they're 1-1 in quad 1 games, and they're 1-1 in quad 2 games. So their quad 1 win would be Michigan State, and then I would say
Yeah.
their quad. So Indiana probably right now is qualifying as a quad 3 win just because it's at home. So hopefully their ranking will get bumped up a little bit. And I'm trying to find Kansas State because
That'd be quad 1 to me, right?
that's what I'm trying to see. Their ranking must not be as high up in the NET rankings, which they're a little bit different. They can fluctuate quite a bit. But yeah, I'm not seeing them right. Like Minnesota, I'm seeing right now is ranked ahead of Kansas. Yeah, Kansas State is 94th. So they would need to move up, I think, into the top 75, which is possible. I think a top 75 win on the road is a quad 1.
Quite honestly, that Minnesota loss doesn't look terrible either because they gave Michigan a game recently. I can't remember what the score was. I think
They beat Michigan, actually.
All right, so yeah, I think that Minnesota team is pretty solid.
So in terms of the quad, so so everybody knows what we're talking about, the quadrant 1 wins. These are how these are kind of measured for quality wins in basketball. So if you beat a team at home, that's ranked 1 through 30. If you beat a team on a neutral floor, that's 1 through 50, or an away win, that's 1 through 75. So they would need Kansas State or Duquesne to get into or no, just Kansas State. They would need Kansas State to get into the top 75. Oregon State, they beat on a neutral floor, but that would be a quad 2 basically. So a quad 2 is 31 to 75 at home, 51 to 100 neutral, and 76 to 135 away. So Nebraska, does have so they've only got one quad 1 win and one quad 2 win right now. So they do need to build the resume up a little bit, but they'll have plenty of chances to do that over the next month or two.
Either way, it's been an impressive stretch for Nebraska. This team looks really good, and I'll be interested to see how they do in the rest of Big Ten play. But right now, we can't complain.
And all right, guys, we're coming up about an hour, so it's our time to say goodbye for the day. So we'll be back on Monday with another episode of the Husker Big Red podcast. Make sure you're checking out HuskerBigRed.com for all the transfer portal updates over the weekend. Thanks everybody for hanging out, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.